Hi, everyone, and welcome to our ASO Conversation series. I'm your host, Tom Moore. I'm the Director of Marketing for the Akron Symphony. Our special guest today is Marilyn Taylor, who is entering her sixth season as a violinist with the orchestra. Welcome, Marilyn.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone.
How are you doing today?
Good. It's very rainy here. I'm in Cleveland Heights, so that's why it looks so dark. I have lights on, but oh well.
So, well, that's okay. It's not the worst thing in the world. So let's with these kind of conversations, I think it's always nice to go back to the very beginning. So talk a little bit about your early experiences in music. It's basically sort of like, how'd you get started on playing your instrument? Did you start with the violin, or was there another gateway instrument that came in first?
The gateway instrument. No, I actually did start on the violin. I went to like a public school in a relatively small town, and they had, I don't even know how it started really, but they had like a free Suzuki program in the school system. So I guess in kindergarten, my parents heard about it and thought maybe she'll want to play the violin. So I wasn't like, mommy, I want to play the violin. I don't remember that. So I just started in the school system. I think it was two group lessons a week, like either after school or at some point during the day, where I would like skip out on, half an hour of whatever we were doing in kindergarten and then go have these group lessons. And I did that all through elementary school. And then eventually got private lessons when I hit maybe sixth grade. But a fun fact, which I just learned when my parents were visiting like 2 weeks ago, was that we went to church one Sunday and I was like 3 years old, and I had this little play piano, the ones that are like little bells.
Mm-hmm.
And I like came home from church and then like played some of the stuff that happened there. And then both my parents were like, what just happened? Like, is that normal? Like, should we like get her an outlet for that, or should we just let her play on the play piano? Which I just learned recently. So I didn't know about that, but I guess they were like, we need to find her something to keep her occupied. So violin happened.
Okay. So what do you enjoy about playing the violin?
I enjoy that it's portable. That's like one big thing that I think after traveling and playing all over, I'm just really glad to have something that can come with me, so I don't have to, lug a cello and buy a seat on an aircraft and things like that. But actually what I like is, I think the ability to play, there's a lot of things that call for a violin. So I can be in an orchestra, I could be in a string quartet. There's just like a lot of different things you can do. Plenty of duets and trios and quintets and you name it. People are always kind of looking for a violin. So it's nice to be able to play with other people.
Okay. Yeah, having that versatility is probably
Exactly.
really helpful.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of transitioning into the bigger picture from just from playing the instrument, what is it you enjoy about playing in an orchestra setting?
Oh, I think maybe my favorite thing is that it can't exactly be replicated. Like whatever concert you play, it's just never going to be the same, even if it's the exact same thing. I have friends that like play on Broadway and they're literally playing the exact same thing every day. And I think it's just never the exact same. Like some little crazy thing will happen, or one part will be amazing one night, and then a different part, you might hear something the second or third or 200th time you play it. So I like that it's just like an actual once in a lifetime moment every concert. So I like that. And then specifically when I'm playing in Akron, I play in the second violin section. And often I get to sit like in the middle of the orchestra. So I can see everything, which is awesome. And I can hear like everything coming at me from different directions. So typically if you sit in the first violins, sometimes it's really hard to hear the rest of what's happening on one side of you. But if you get that like sweet spot in the middle, you can just hear so much more, I guess, like the intricate details of everyone's parts. And even that sounds different than sitting in an auditorium listening to it all coming at you. So that part I like specifically in Akron, is like my seat is kind of in the middle of everything.
Yeah, I'm always kind of interested to know like what the sound is like on stage versus what we hear in the audience, because are you able to hear or are you concentrating so much on I'm playing my part that you don't really hear what's going on around you? Or can you hear the whole orchestra as it plays throughout the evening?
I mean, I guess it also depends on what we're playing. Um, I can hear the winds all the time because I'm either right next to the flutes, so I can kind of hear like the residual like oboes and stuff next to them, clarinets. But if I'm in front of them, I can like hear more things, I guess, if that makes sense. So it is a different sound than if you're just in the audience and you're hearing everything come together as it should. But it's still really interesting and weird. Sometimes I have to say, sometimes if I'm not like 100% concentrating and there's like a really cool part, I just listen to it in a rehearsal because I know I won't be able to really focus when it's time for the concert. So I try to like enjoy that in the rehearsal time so that I don't, play really loudly and arrest during the concert.
Is there anything unique or interesting about your particular violin? Any good stories or any kind of nice history to it?
Here, I can show you. This is my little violin. It was actually, yeah, so it's interesting. It was made in 1926 in Budapest. And I had a friend read the label to me because it's in Hungarian. And there's no maker listed, but it does say that it's a university instrument. So I have no idea what that means. Either it was produced for a student in university, or maybe at one point it belonged to a university there and then at some point was sold. But another weird thing about it is, so I've had it probably like maybe 15 years now, actually. And when I got it, the people who owned it before me, I guess maybe had like a family member who played who was no longer playing or something like that. And they literally had it just like in a case, like a show case in their home for like 25 years or longer. So when I got it, it had just not been played for decades. And I guess maybe a little known fact about string instruments and maybe other instruments do this too, I'm not sure. But it just wasn't played for so long that when I had it, the sound just continually changed for like 6 months to a year. Like, I don't know, maybe like an old house like settles over time and you like hear little creaks and stuff. I think it was kind of like that. Like it was just like getting used to being played again. So I kind of like felt like I woke it up. It was a little bit weird. And I was in high school, so I was like, oh, what's happening? Some days it would sound really different, and then eventually it like really opened. So it has a big, full, bright sound, which I like. But that was cool. Like it was really like a house settling kind of. I mean, it is wood, and if it sat doing nothing, for 25 years, I don't know. But that was a cool experience for me to like play it and then hear it actually change as I progressed, and then it like really opened up. I really love it. It's my favorite.
It's kind of fun too, because you can kind of make up your own backstory now about the violin since you don't know anything other than it was a university instrument. So
yeah, I think it has like the street address on the label, but I haven't been able to find what was at that street address. So I don't know if it was the university or the maker's shop, or I have no idea, but I would love to know. So if anybody has any resources out there, let me know.
So one thing that I've always kind of, question I always find interesting, do you think that the musician chooses their instrument, or do you think somehow the instrument chooses the musician?
Oh, interesting. I think some people really do have like a pull towards something, whether they're, like 3 years old and they're like begging their mother for years to play the cello or whatever. I know some people who are really adamant, like, this is the one I want and this is what I want to do. And I think other people are just like, I didn't know what's going on. My parents were like, want to play the violin? So I think sometimes it's just like what you have access to, or what your siblings maybe already play, or what's convenient, or I think there's just a million different ways to kind of do that. I did play piano for probably like 8 or 9 years, but I started that after violin. And then, there's sometimes I think, I don't know, sometimes I think your parent or your teachers, whoever's around you kind of like knows you better than you know you. So for example, like my husband wanted to play classical guitar for like forever, and he begged his mom for so long. And then she kept being like, oh, let's, get better at violin first. Let's really establish some, like knowledge of music and reading and stuff like that. And then he asked like a few more times, like years later, and she was like, well, you're doing so well in violin, and like now he has a master's degree in violin performance. Like, I don't know. I mean, it suits him. So I think sometimes it's just like your environment. And then other times, you see something on Sesame Street and you're just sold. And that's just what you do. But for me, I probably had never even really thought about a violin before. And then I think my parents just thought, let's try it, and it worked. So here we are.
Dropped it in your hands and it felt right.
I never wanted to quit. Also, my parents were pretty, they're not musicians, and I think, my mom took piano, and they like knew music would be an important thing, and they wanted me to, have that experience, but they were pretty easy on me. Like, no one was ever yelling at me to practice, and I had one meltdown I think in kindergarten in Suzuki Book 1 on Long, Long Ago, because I couldn't play the part. It's the first song where you play on the D string, and I could not do it. And I had like a little mini tantrum in our hallway. And I remember my mom being like, you don't have to do this. Like, it's okay. It's a fun thing. And we just practice and we try our best and whatever. And I thought, oh, I actually really want to do this. So I'm going to not have any more meltdowns on the floor. But yeah, they were like really, easy about it. And I really liked it. So I didn't really need a lot of prodding. So it was like overall a good experience.
Oh, that's good. So Marilyn has been, she just finished this is her 6th year. She is going to be a member of the orchestra. At what point did it start to click, or did you start to think that, what, I can make music be my career?
Okay.
And don't say last week.
Okay, I was basically good. Okay, well, when I thought to myself, I would like to make this my career, I was probably in the 7th grade. I think part of it was that it was something that I liked to do. And it was something that I was like kind of starting to excel at that point. And I wanted to put the work in, and I'm like a pretty driven person, with like checklists and organization. And if I set goals, I really enjoy meeting them, which is great for any child who's learning how to play an instrument. It's the whole thing. So I definitely wanted to make that happen, but I was from a small place, and I just I didn't know. I hadn't seen, how good can you be at the violin? Like, I didn't know. It was just like me and my little middle school orchestra. So I did, between maybe 7th grade and graduating from school, I did have some moments where I was like, wow, I think if I want to do this, I'm going to have to put a lot more time in than I thought in 7th grade. An hour a day is just not enough. So my original answer was going to be I don't know, this morning when I woke up, I was like, can I make music my career? But I think it also changes often. Music as a career is just what does that mean? People teach, people, travel and perform and play in orchestras and do chamber music and run festivals, and there's 1,000 things you can do. So I think it's constantly changing, but when I felt like I'm doing it was maybe a couple of years after I graduated. I was playing in Akron, and I still have a private studio that students that I teach, and I think it just looks different for everyone. So I think I just woke up one day and was like, I guess this is my career. I guess I'm a professional violinist. But it just kind of happened. There's a lot of steps to get there. So yeah, I wanted to in 7th grade. I figured out that it happened to me, I don't know, 5 years ago or something.
Okay. So do you have a favorite composer or composers, that you really this is really kind of my go-to, or this is what I really enjoy most?
Okay, that's hard. I like playing things that are kind of rough, that I can saw into a little bit. Like Shostakovich or Brahms, stuff that's heavy and meant to be loud and kind of in your face. I think I don't know, I think my violin is well suited to that, and I think just my overall playing is a little bit bombastic. So I do have to try actually harder, I think, to play like Mozart really delicately, or like to not play Bach like it was written 50 years ago. So I enjoy doing that, and I think it comes a little easier to me. But as far as listening, like maybe like Ravel or Debussy. It like depends on my mood, I guess. But
Hmm.
um,
I think that's true of any kind of music, everything,
uh,
you get in a certain mood, or it's like, today I want to listen to this, or, you
right,
know, I'm going to go to the gym, I'm going to listen to something different. So
yeah.
I could totally see that.
I think growing up, I listened to a ton of classical music all the time. And I think that was because I was like interested in it, and I was taking lessons, and I like wanted to learn more about what was around. So I remember like discovering Ravel for the first time, like who is this guy? Like, how have I not known about this? And now I think now that I'm just playing music, it's like my job. I mean, I enjoy it too, obviously, but now I listen a little bit less. But then when I do randomly pull something up, I'm like just as excited and surprised. Like maybe a couple weeks ago, I was like, oh, I'm doing work. Maybe I'll just like put on like, I don't know, Beethoven's Fourth Symphony or something, which I have played before, but I'm not like constantly listening to Beethoven symphonies. And it was great. It was like I'd never heard it before, but also I'd heard it a million times. So I think I'm starting to try to do that more often, just to, so it doesn't become like a stale thing. Like I've already heard all Beethoven symphonies. I don't need to hear that again. But I really do. Everyone should. It was great. Highly recommend. Just like whip something out today and like listen to it.
All right, that's good. Are thinking during your time here with the orchestra, are there any memorable performances or any kind of like moments that really kind of stick out for you?
Uh, let's see. Okay, I every time Gospel Meets Symphony happens, it's like probably my favorite thing. I think like the sheer number of people that are involved is amazing. It was also the last time I performed on a stage with an orchestra.
I know
Even
that's
that
been rough.
night. So yeah, yeah. We came off on a high note, I guess. But yeah, that is always so fun. The music is so different. Everyone's so friendly. Everyone's so excited. It like wakes up the orchestra. It's great. So basically, anytime that happens, it's super fun. Um, I think I think we played Barbara Adagio for strings. I
Hmm.
don't remember what season that was. Maybe
It,
like 3 years ago, 2 years ago.
probably two. I know I know it's been since I've been here, and it was yeah. I think it wasn't this past season. I think it was the season before. So it
Okay,
wasn't that long
they
ago.
all like run together. I'm like, I
Well,
don't know when that was.
I mean, everything since, anything that happened before March of this year seems like it was, 100 years ago anyways.
And one big long season. Yeah, I don't know when it stopped or started, but that was great because I'd never played it before and I always wanted to play it. And yeah, so that was just like I've been waiting to play that for a while, and I finally got to. And then any children's concert is just super cute and wonderful. So anytime we do link up, I probably link up is my favorite thing. I have to like pay attention in the actual concert. So during the rehearsal, I'm I have to like remind myself like, okay, learn this music so that when all the cute children come, you're not just staring at them having a ball and you're like playing what you're supposed to play. I make it sound like I don't pay attention in orchestra, which I definitely do, but I gotta try because there's a lot of exciting things happening.
Yeah,
Um,
you gotta watch out. Chris Wilkins might be watching this. So
I know, I promise I pay attention, but yeah, it's just like too exciting when there are, I don't even like literally just hundreds upon hundreds of third through fifth graders with their recorders, like all like tooting around. And it's just so fun and everybody loves it. And all the kids are super excited. And um, yeah, that's probably my favorite thing is just like watching. Like I would have loved that. I did not do that when I was in elementary school. We like went to the orchestra and stuff, but that's like not sitting and staring for an hour, which is still fun. And there's a time and place for that. But this is like kids learn their parts on their recorder all year long. And then every year they come and play with the Akron Symphony and they're just so excited and it's the cutest thing. And they're just
yeah,
learning so much stuff and it's so hands-on and they get to participate and it's the best. I love it.
Yeah, the participation part of it is really good. I remember the first year I was at one, it was just like, oh my gosh, one, it was the loudest thing I think I've ever heard. But it
Yeah.
was also just the energy in there is just so different than what in at other events. It's definitely a lot of it's a lot of fun doing that.
Yes. Yeah, it's great.
So outside of rehearsing, which obviously is, a key part of getting ready for performance, do you have any other things you do to prepare on for a concert night? Any kind of like rituals, any kind of special, you have a go-to meal? Do you have, just, is there anything you do specifically to prepare for a performance?
Um, okay. Yes. I think everyone would say yes. Yeah, the answer is yes. Uh, so to prepare like music, um, we have the parts sent to us ahead of time, and one thing I just do, even if I know the pieces, is I listen. So um, I might not sit and stare at my part and listen to every, minute of the music, but I will like create a Spotify playlist. And if I'm working or cleaning the bathroom or whatever, I'll listen to whatever it is that's we're playing the upcoming week. So it kind of like gets me like either familiar with it if I haven't played it before, or kind of like remind me of places that I think like, wow, I should probably look at that part when I open the music. So I listen to a lot of stuff pretty much the week before. And then before rehearsal, for the first rehearsal, I go through all the parts and I sort of like skim them. I'm not going to play every note in a row. Some stuff is a lot easier to just play than others. So I go through and I see like, what is difficult? What am I going to need to look at? So then I personally do all of those things to prepare. Then when I get to the first rehearsal, it's really funny. Something can seem really easy when you're just casually practicing by yourself. And then when you have to do it with like 80 other people, it can get really messy. So what I do is we always have pencils with us in rehearsal. And then if something happens, whether I practiced it and felt good about it or not, and it's like not that great, then my stand partner and I will put like an X by that line of music. So then we know later, like that didn't go well, or that was faster than I thought, or I think I need a new fingering, or I missed the bowings, but I got the notes. Then that way we have it marked, like that's something we need to revisit later. So then I just continue to do that. So then when I take it home, the next day before the following rehearsal, I hit all of those places with the X. And then when I go back to rehearsal, it's just like eliminate the X's is the goal. So some of the X's stay until, the day of the concert, and you're like really trying to make sure that you revisit those before you play. And then some of them are kind of easy and you figure out a good fingering or talk to a stand partner and figure out what they're doing. So there's like a little team buddy effort there. But yeah, that's what I do. And then you're just trying to get everything exactly right. So yeah. But yeah, I think the X thing is the thing I've been doing for a long time, and it works really well for me just to keep track of. There's a lot of music sometimes, so a lot of stuff to cover.
Oh, I know. And I'm always amazed at how much work, you know, everybody on that stage puts into, and then when it all comes together, the performance is it's really amazing. And it's pretty overwhelming just talking to the musicians and just everything you guys have to go through to pull all this together and make it work. And it always works.
Yeah, it's funny. It's like a lot of the work we've done, for the last 25 years that I've played violin at this point. A lot of that work you put in before you even get a chance to like use your skills. Just like thousands of hours of scales from fourth grade on or whatever. So then what you're really doing is seeing which things are just like really tricky. And then that's the stuff you're going to spend the most time on. So some pieces you hardly have any X's because you're like, whatever, this is what I trained to do, and I'm going to show up and do it. And then some things you're like, oh, I'm going to need more than an hour on the stage or whatever. But yeah, it's fun though. It's like I said, I think musicians, I mean, I guess I'll speak for myself, but I think most musicians are driven in that way. I have this many X's and they all need to disappear. by Saturday night at 8 p.m.
Hmm.
So it's kind of like a challenge. And then also, I just think we're driven in that way to like accomplish a goal. So I think probably a lot of people do that same method, I would think. But I guess I'll tune in and see what other people do. Just in case they have a better idea than me. I don't know.
It's true. So kind of thinking back to this past season, we had some offerings at the concerts of music that would, from underrepresented composers or music that not everybody was necessarily familiar with. Is that fun for a musician to get something new and different, coming up on a concert?
Yes, I think, like it's kind of like you don't know what you're missing until you either have an experience where you're just doing your own research and happen to find something cool you didn't know existed, or someone says we're doing this piece and you're like, what is that piece? Who is that person? Like, how do I not know who that is? So really it's actually kind of inspired me, and I think some other musicians, to like dig deeper, because I think it's hard. I don't know, it's easy to get bogged down, especially as a violinist. There's a lot written for my instrument, like so much that I'm never going to learn it all. Like I just can't. So I think often, if you're a violinist, you have 6 sonatas and partitudes by Bach, like other instruments don't have that. Like, and that's something we're expected to learn. So you're constantly like, how many Mozart sonatas and how many, there's just so much. So I think it's easy to get bogged down in, the top 10, whatever, Bach and Mozart and Beethoven. And, there's so much to do, like learn it, it's great and timeless and all that. So I've actually done some of my own research now to see like what else is written for the violin that's just hasn't been played, or that I just for some reason haven't heard, or so I think that playing that new music is just a nice little nudge to kind of like, and reminder, like there's a lot out there and there's like a lot to still be explored. So I discovered that like Wynton Marsalis composed this really awesome violin concerto. Not sure how I didn't know about that, but I just like went down like a YouTube like bunny trail, how you just keep going next video, during COVID, what else is there to do? So I've listened to so much interesting stuff that I just had no idea was out there. I think having the orchestra do that is just a good exercise anyway, because there's so much out there. And we obviously want to share that with people. But then for me personally, it's also been pretty inspiring to just see what's there that I didn't know about. So maybe that'll be my next project.
Right. So you're originally from Virginia. How did you end up to be here in Northeast Ohio?
So, so I grew up in Virginia my whole life, and then I did my undergrad at the Eastman School of Music in Rochester. And I just love the Great Lakes so much, I decided to move to another one to do a master's degree at CIM. And I have to say, like, I don't love the cold. And I did like 4 years of it in Rochester, and it was like pretty darn cold. And then I just thought to myself, like, I can't believe I would move to just another Great Lakes area and be snowed on and cold forever. So my idea was, get in, get out, do the 2 years, go somewhere warm. And that's not what happened. And instead I got married and I live in Cleveland now. So, but it's like really grown on me. And last year I probably complained the least of any year that I've been here, 8 years now, of the cold. So I think it's okay. If you have a long down coat and it like goes to your feet, it's going to be okay. So for anyone who, if you just got to get that down coat and it's okay. But I like love how much people support the arts in this area of the country. And there's just a lot going on. And Cleveland is like a big city amenities without the big city traffic and feel. And and it's been nice to, I don't know, I kind of dig Northeast Ohio. Snowy, but
there's a lot to like around here. I'm native to here, so I'm a little biased, but I think you hit the high points. It's the weather's bad, but when it's not bad, it's nice. So you just kind of go with it.
there's a lot to offer. And I think the one thing is like, you know, if you go somewhere for school, you're just not seeing everything that's there. Because you're busy. You're doing school and you're practicing and you're not like just taking weekends to, you know, go wherever in Northeast Ohio for fun. You're like taking an exam and preparing your jury and all that stuff. So I do think that during school, I just didn't, I mean, other than knowing about the Cleveland Orchestra and Art Museum, things like that, I just wasn't aware of all of the great things that are around and all the metro parks. Like I didn't even visit one of those until I graduated because there was just no time. So I think now that I've like been here a while, it's actually been really enjoyable and I like it.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
So outside of orchestral music, what type of music do you like? What do you listen to? What do you recommend?
Okay, weird stuff, I guess. I don't know, maybe not weird. So my parents love like the oldies. So most of my childhood, I'm not sure I knew that like anything else existed besides like the real oldies, like a Bach concerto, and then like 60s and 70s, whatever. So like almost anything that comes on a radio station like that, I just know the words. And even now my parents are like, why do you know that? Like, why? Like, dude, because I was in the car with you guys like my whole childhood. So I just was like picking it up. So I actually love stuff like that. I love folk music. My parents are like, they're not musicians, which I mentioned, but they really appreciate music and the arts. And when I was a kid, I got to see Peter, Paul, and Mary. I think I was like 8 years old, and it was awesome. And I was like, stew ball, you know, like I was so into it. And, you know, they took me to see Doc Watson one time. And I saw Ralph Stanley in college. I like skipped a faculty recital that I probably should have gone to because Ralph Stanley was at Eastman Theater in Rochester. And I was like, I cannot pass that up. So I went to that instead. But yeah, I've like gotten to see some great folk and bluegrass artists, and that's like my real. I like to listen to that. It depends on what I'm in the mood for, but I like that. I think they call it newgrass. I don't know. It's different than bluegrass, but like Nickel Creek and things like that. Chris Thiele is amazing to me. But yeah, a lot of folk music and bluegrass is kind of my jam.
Okay. I heard an interesting little anecdote as well. You know, you mentioned that your husband Julian is also classically trained, or he's a musician as well. So I'm assuming when you guys got married, you had all kinds of classical music just going throughout the church, throughout the hall, through every step of the way. But I hear that that may not have actually been the case.
That is not the case. Yeah, we you know, I just thought I wanted to get like married in church and have whatever, an orchestra or whatever people do. And then eventually, that's not true. We got married like up against the Blue Ridge Mountains outside almost 6 years ago in 3 weeks. And yeah, we had a bluegrass band at our wedding because we were just like, I don't know if we want, I don't know, we wanted something different. And he likes folk and bluegrass and all that stuff too. So we just thought like that would be surprising for people. So part of it was like surprise factor, and also just it was fun, and that's what we wanted to do. So we used to run a camp together, and the camp had like a classical track and then a bluegrass track. So we've met over the years tons of really awesome bluegrass musicians who were teaching at the for the bluegrass track while we were teaching classical. And so we had a couple of our friends come and play, and then a couple, you know, a friend from Eastman and a friend of ours from CIM. And so we had like a violin, a cello, a dobro, a guitar, and a banjo. And they did all of the music for the ceremony. And yeah, it was different. I think people were not expecting that. Yeah, I think they did the prelude too. I was obviously not there for that part, so I assume it went fine. But I was busy, so but yeah. And then afterwards, we just did whatever reception music, but we did dance the Virginia Reel.
Well, that's cool. See, and that's what makes it unique, and that's what makes it special and fun for you guys. And that's kind of, I think a lot of times people lose sight of that, who's really the star of the show on a wedding day. It's really supposed to be about you and the groom, not necessarily about what everybody else wants. So, but I think we might be getting into a little of a heavier topic here that we might not want to go down.
Oh man. Yeah, but it was good. It was very different. I do think people were shocked. And I think it's like, I don't know, I think when you look at an orchestra and you see us all, dressed in black and like super focused, and I'm sure there's probably times that we just look like we're not having a great time, which is not true. We're just also very focused on like playing what's in front of us and making it really good and enjoyable. And everything that the music has to offer, we're trying to like give an audience that. But in real life, we're just like, I just have like dirty dishes on the floor over here and listen to bluegrass music all day. So probably not what you think when you look on stage, but yeah, we're complex people under the mega focus and all black.
That's good. So kind of getting near the end of our time here. So just wondering, do you have any kind of hobbies, interests outside of music? Do you want to share favorite TV shows, favorite foods, favorite movies? Kind of pick from the menu.
Pick from the menu. Let's see. Okay, since COVID happened, we have like a sizable garden now. We have like, I think 18 pepper plants and 16 tomato plants. So there has been great harvest in the last maybe 2 weeks. So we've basically been making food that needs tomatoes because we have too many of them. Tomato pie, tomato tarts, tomato sauce. We're going to be sick of tomatoes, but so far it's been good. So gardening is like a new thing. We have never done that before, but it's been very enjoyable. And I obviously have time to dedicate to that now. And then as far as like others, I really like baseball. So we've been watching probably almost every Indians game that's been on, especially since the season's been short. So I'm like ready to go tonight, 8:05. And then home improvement. Like we like to take things that we find maybe on the side of the road, maybe people are selling, whatever. And then we just make stuff. So during the pandemic time, we've made like a hallway bench and some coat hangers and a compost bin and like a ton of stuff. So we have kept busy. But yeah, I think those are probably the top 3 things: gardening, baseball, and repurposing weird furniture we find.
It sounds like you guys are staying busy.
We are.
No, that's good. So before we wrap up here, anything else you want to share? Have we said it all?
I mean, we said it all. I guess the only thing I would remind people is to check out the interlude season, because although we are all at home, there are very interesting things happening. So
this is true. Just keep sight on our Facebook page, keep sight on our social media pages, and we will definitely be sharing the information out as we have things coming up, in addition to our ongoing ASO Conversation series, which will be coming back here soon. So that's all we have for today. Great job. Thank you so much for your time today, Marilyn.
Sure. Thanks for joining us, guys.
Yeah. Thank you to everyone for watching. We appreciate if you like and share the video to help our network grow. And we will be back soon with another edition of the ASO Conversation series. Until then, stay safe, everyone.
Awesome.